They say a universe of longing lies in every human heart. A longing for peace, for truth, for something more. Yet alongside this quiet yearning, another fire often burns. The fire of earthly desire, immediate and strong. And the question, whispered through ages of seeking, remains, must one of these fires be put out for the other to truly shine? Are we forced to choose the sacred or the sensual, the spirit or the flesh? But what if the path to enlightenment isn't found by destroying desire, but by understanding it in its deepest sense? We find ourselves at a meeting point of ancient teachings and modern thoughts. For centuries, across so many traditions, a common story has been told. To climb the mountain of spiritual understanding, we must lighten our load of worldly attachments. Among these, sexual desire, with its raw power, has often been named as a major roadblock, if not the biggest one. We hear of ascetics, monks and nuns who choose celibacy. They believe that redirecting this strong life force is vital for clarity, for devotion, for freeing the self from what doesn't last. The mind, it's taught, gets clouded when caught in chasing sensual pleasure. The energy that could fuel the journey inward is instead spent outward, lost in fleeting moments that don't quench the deeper thirst. The body's cravings, the heart's intense attachments, these are often shown as chains, binding the spirit to suffering, to the endless cycle of wanting and never quite being satisfied. This view has its wisdom. Who hasn't felt the consuming nature of desire when it runs wild? Who hasn't felt the distraction, the restlessness, when the senses cry out for more? There's truth in saying that a life unexamined, driven only by instinct, rarely finds the deep stillness where spiritual insight awakens. The energy of creation, when scattered, when not anchored to a deeper purpose, can indeed become a storm, hiding the soul's quiet whispers. Many spiritual paths teach discipline, a turning away from the obvious to see the subtle. The senses, they say, are like wild horses, powerful, full of life, but if untamed, they'll pull the chariot of the self into dangerous places. So taming these desires, especially sexual desire, with its deep roots in our biology and psychology, is presented not as punishment, but as a necessary step for inner freedom. It's a path of purifying, of simplifying life to make inner space for the divine, for self-realization to appear. The argument is strong. How can one focus on the eternal when constantly pulled by the demands of the temporary? How can one find inner peace when the mind is a storm of cravings? This conventional wisdom has shaped cultures, spiritual practices, and the personal journeys of countless seekers. It suggests a basic conflict, a battlefield within, where spirit and desire are in a game where only one can win. Victory for one means defeat for the other. And for many, this inner battle is a source of deep conflict, a feeling of being torn between a natural part of their humanity and their highest dreams. The message is often clear: choose, subdue, overcome by eliminating the inner conflict, the what if. And yet within this common understanding, a quiet unease might arise. A question, small at first, like a seed deep in the earth, starts to stir. Is this way of seeing things, this stark division, the whole truth of our human experience? Or is it, perhaps, a partial view, a necessary stage for some, but not the final word for everyone? What if the very energy we are taught to suppress, to fear, or to conquer actually holds a key, not a lock, to deeper spiritual growth? What if this powerful elemental force so deeply woven into who we are isn't just an obstacle to overcome, but a current that, if navigated with deep awareness and skill, could carry us towards the ocean of enlightenment, not away from it? The human body is a vessel of immense intelligence, the life force moving through us, showing itself in countless ways, including sexual desire, is the same force that animates the universe, that paints the sunset, that unfurls the fern. Could it be that such a basic part of our existence is inherently against our spiritual evolution? Or could it be our relationship to this energy, our understanding or misunderstanding of it? That's the real challenge. Think about fire. Uncontrolled, it consumes and destroys. But harnessed, cared for with wisdom, fire gives warmth, Light, the power to change raw ore into shining metal. Could desire, in its raw strength, be like this fire? An energy that, if met only with fear and repression, smolders in the shadows, creating inner conflict. But if approached with understanding, with respect for its power, and with the aim of integration, might it not become a source of profound vitality on the spiritual path? What if the journey isn't about putting out this inner fire, but about learning to be a conscious guardian of its flames? What if the enemy we see is in fact a misunderstood friend, waiting to be acknowledged and brought into a more complete vision of what it means to be both fully human and deeply spiritual? The Baha'i faith, for example, sees sexuality as a natural part of human development, encouraging its fulfillment within relationships that help both people grow. This points to a path where enriching our human connections, including the sexual, adds to rather than takes away from our spiritual and personal journey. The path of simple denial, while it might work for some, can for others lead to a life that feels empty, cut off from a vital part of life's fullness. Could it be that true spiritual maturity lies not in getting rid of desire, but in transforming it? Not in becoming less alive, but more alive, with a sharper awareness that touches every part of our being, including our deepest passions? This questioning isn't a call for hedonism or thoughtless indulgence. It's a call for a deeper inquiry, a more courageous look at all of our human experience in light of our spiritual hopes. Understanding the nature of desire. To find our way through this complex area, we first need to understand desire itself. Is it inherently bad, a stain on the spirit's purity? Or is it something more neutral, a raw energy whose expression is shaped by our consciousness, our intentions, our wisdom, or our lack of it? Many ancient traditions, including some yogic and Taoist philosophies, see desire not as an enemy, but as a basic expression of the life force, prana, chi, shakti. This is the creative energy of the universe, the same power that fuels growth, healing, and transformation. In this view, sexual energy is a particularly strong concentration of this life force, a source of vitality. It is essentially neutral, neither good nor bad, holy nor unholy in its core state. Like a river, its nature is to flow. A river can carve beautiful canyons, support vast ecosystems, and quench the thirst of many. Or, if its banks are weak or its course is blocked without understanding, it can flood, causing destruction. The river itself isn't evil. Its effects depend on how its power interacts with the land around it and the structures built to guide it. Similarly, the energy of desire, in its raw state, is simply power. The question then becomes, how do we relate to this power? Do we dam it up without thinking, risking an eventual, uncontrolled flood? Do we let it run wild, eroding the foundations of our inner peace? Or do we learn to build channels, to water the fields of our spiritual practice with its strength, transforming its raw intensity into cultivated growth? The ancient traditions of Tantra, for instance, offer a view where sexual energy is sacred, a direct expression of divine creative power, Shakti. When approached with reverence, mindfulness, and specific practices, it can be a powerful tool for spiritual awakening. This doesn't mean uncontrolled indulgence. It means a conscious engagement with this energy, changing it from a purely instinctual drive into a way to expand awareness and connect with deeper states of being. The goal isn't suppression, but transmutation, raising this potent energy from the lower centers of consciousness, linked to more primal urges, to the higher centers, linked to spiritual insight, love, and universal connection. Even in traditions that emphasize celibacy, the underlying understanding is often not that sexual energy is evil, but that it's incredibly powerful. The choice of celibacy, for some, is a specific spiritual technique aimed at redirecting this immense power entirely inward, to fuel intense meditation or devotion. It's a recognition of its strength. For those not called to such a path, the challenge is different: to integrate this energy into a life that is both spiritually aspiring and humanly whole. Psychology also offers insight. Freud called this primal energy libido. seeing it as a fundamental driver capable of being channeled into creative pursuits. While psychoanalysis might not frame it spiritually, it acknowledges that this energy can be expressed in various ways. If this energy is simply life force, then its presence isn't the problem. The problem, if there is one, comes from not knowing its nature, from attachment to its purely sensory forms, and from the illusion that satisfying it on the surface level alone can lead to lasting happiness. So our first step is to move beyond simply condemning desire. We need to see it as a fundamental energy, a gift of life. Whether it becomes a binding chain or a liberating force lies not in the energy itself, but in our awareness, our intention, and the wisdom we bring to its expression. It's a call to understand the source before trying to manage the flow. This energy is part of our design, an echo of the creative impulse that brought galaxies into being. To deny its existence or its power is to deny a part of that divine design within us. The path then is one of understanding, respect, and skillful engagement. The pitfalls of suppression. If desire is a fundamental life energy, what happens if we approach it only by trying to suppress it? To get rid of it by sheer willpower, without deeper understanding or a way to integrate it. While discipline is vital on any meaningful path, suppression without wisdom can lead to many unintended and often harmful results, both psychologically and spiritually. Nature shows us that energy can truly be destroyed. It can only be transformed or redirected. When a powerful current like sexual desire is met with harsh repression, it doesn't just disappear. More often, it's pushed into the shadows of our mind, where it can fester and show up in distorted ways. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, those parts of ourselves we deny or repress. These unacknowledged parts don't stop existing. They continue to influence our thoughts, emotions, and actions, often unconsciously and in ways that go against our conscious wishes. Suppressed desire can become a strong inhabitant of this inner shadow. Psychologically, ongoing suppression can lead to inner conflict and tension. It might show up as anxiety, irritability, obsessive thoughts, or even depression. The constant effort to police one's inner world, to deny natural impulses, can be exhausting. It can create a sense of being separate from one's own body and emotions. Instead of peace, one might find themselves in a constant inner battle, where a part of the self is always being judged and condemned. This inner division is the opposite of the wholeness and integration that spiritual growth seeks. Also, suppressed desires can sometimes erupt unexpectedly and unskillfully, like a river dammed without proper spillways. The pressure can build until it breaks through, leading to behaviors that are compulsive or not aligned with one's values. This is often followed by guilt and shame, reinforcing the cycle of suppression and potential outburst. The very thing one tried to avoid, the unskillful expression of desire, can become more likely when the energy isn't met with understanding and gentle guidance. Spiritually, suppression can create a subtle kind of arrogance, where one mistakes the lack of outward expression for true mastery. It can lead to judging oneself and others, who may not be following a similar path of denial. True spiritual maturity is often marked by compassion, understanding, and an embrace of the full range of human experience, not by rigid rule-following born of fear. Moreover, by denying a fundamental part of our life force, we might accidentally cut ourselves off from the vitality, creativity, and passion that can fuel our spiritual journey. If spiritual growth is about becoming more fully alive, more present, more engaged with all of existence, then a path that requires cutting off a significant part of our aliveness might ultimately limit us. Some traditions even talk about bhoga, enjoyment or experience, as a necessary partner to yoga, union, or spiritual discipline, suggesting a complete life involves wisely engaging with the world, not just running from it. The key is wise engagement. It's important to distinguish between conscious restraint or celibacy undertaken with deep spiritual understanding and support within a tradition, and the kind of fearful, uninformed suppression that often comes from guilt or a negative view of the body. The first can be a powerful path for some, the second often leads to psychological distress and spiritual slowdown. The Hindu and yogic traditions, for example, speak of brahmacharya. This is often translated as celibacy, but more broadly means the conscious control and direction of sexual energy. This isn't mere suppression. but a sophisticated understanding of energy transmutation for spiritual aims. This mastery, it's believed, can lead to greater inner strength and spiritual power. In contrast, a purely negative approach, one that sees desire only as an enemy to be crushed, misses the chance for deeper integration. It risks creating a spiritual path that is dry, disconnected from life's vibrant energy, and potentially filled with hidden resentments and unhealed psychological wounds. The goal isn't to become an empty shell, without passion, but to become a conscious vessel, able to hold and direct life's powerful energies with wisdom and love. The potential of integration, transmutation, the fuel concept. If suppression alone has so many pitfalls, and desire itself is a neutral, potent life force, then we reach the heart of our question. Can this energy, so often seen as an enemy to spiritual growth, actually become its ally, its fuel? This is the transformative vision offered by various wisdom traditions and increasingly supported by modern psychology, the path of integration and transmutation. Transmutation. That's the key. It means not eliminating energy, but changing its quality, its direction, its expression. Think of a skilled artisan who takes raw materials, coarse clay, rough wood, base metals, and through skill, intention, and transformative processes like fire or focused effort, creates objects of great beauty and significance. The raw material isn't destroyed, it's elevated, refined, given a higher purpose. Sexual energy, in this sense, can be seen as a potent raw material of our being. Many esoteric traditions, especially Tantra and certain Taoist practices, have explored this potential deeply. They see sexual energy, Jin in Taoism, an aspect of Shakti in Tantra, as a fundamental life essence. Instead of pushing for its suppression, these paths offer sophisticated methods to cultivate, conserve, and transform this energy. They guide it upwards through the body's subtle energy channels, nadis and chakras, to awaken higher states of consciousness, boost vitality, and fuel spiritual realization. In these traditions, conscious sexual union, approached as a sacred ritual with mindfulness and shared spiritual intent, can become a way to experience profound connection, not just with the partner, but with the divine energies that flow through all existence. Solo practices also exist, focusing on internal alchemy, transforming sexual energy into spiritual light and awareness. The metaphor of the lotus flower, often used in Eastern spirituality, fits well here. The lotus grows from mud and murky waters, yet it rises above them to blossom into a flower of exquisite beauty and purity, untouched by the mire it came from. The mud in this analogy can represent our raw, primal energies, our earthly experiences, including sexual desire. The spiritual path isn't about avoiding the mud, but about drawing nourishment from it, transforming its essence into the refined beauty of an awakened heart and mind. The passion, the intensity, the sheer life force in sexual desire, when consciously channeled, can provide the vital energy for this transformative journey. Or think of a blacksmith forging a sword. It requires intense heat, the fire of the forge, like the heat of passion and desire. It also needs the blacksmith's strength and skill, representing conscious awareness, discipline, and intention. The raw iron, through repeated heating, hammering, and shaping, is transformed from a shapeless lump into a strong, resilient, purposeful blade. Similarly, the raw energy of desire, when met with the fire of spiritual practice and the skillful shaping of conscious awareness, can be forged into qualities like unwavering resolve, profound compassion, creative inspiration, and a deep embodied understanding of life's sacredness. This process of integration isn't about giving free rein to every impulse. That would be like letting the blacksmith's fire rage uncontrolled, burning down the workshop. It's about acknowledging the fire's power, understanding its properties, and learning to tend it with wisdom. It involves bringing our desires into the light of awareness, examining their roots, and consciously choosing how to engage with them in a way that aligns with our deepest spiritual values. It might involve periods of restraint, not out of fear, but as a conscious act of conserving and redirecting energy. It might involve transforming the outward focus of desire, the craving for external things, into an inward longing for truth, for connection with the divine. Modern psychological views also support integration over suppression for overall well-being. When sexuality is integrated into a person's life in a healthy, conscious, and consensual way, it can contribute to a sense of wholeness and connection. The idea of a sexual growth mindset, for example, suggests that sexual satisfaction and understanding can be developed through effort and learning, which aligns with the spiritual principle of conscious evolution. This path of integration recognizes that spiritual growth isn't about becoming less human, but about becoming more fully, consciously human. It means embracing all aspects of our being, including our passions, and bringing them into harmony with our spiritual aspirations. It's a journey of alchemy, transforming the lead of raw instinct into the goal of awakened consciousness. The energy is the same, its expression becomes divine. The role of discipline and awareness. So if we are to integrate sexual desire with spiritual growth, we must speak of two pillars that make this possible and fruitful: discipline and awareness. Without these, trying to harness such a strong energy could indeed be risky, leading not to liberation but to deeper entanglement. The path of integration isn't one of laziness or uncontrolled indulgence. It demands a higher order of self-mastery. Discipline here isn't harsh, joyless suppression, born of fear. It's a conscious, loving commitment to a chosen path, a willingness to make choices that align with our deepest values, even when faced with conflicting impulses. It's training the mind and will, much like an athlete trains their body to achieve a higher level of freedom. In the realm of desire, discipline means cultivating inner discernment, learning to tell the difference between urges from conditioned patterns or egoic craving and the deeper life currents that can be guided towards spiritual ends. This discipline might show itself in various ways. It could mean periods of conscious abstention, not as a denial of life, but as a way to clarify one's relationship with desire, to observe its arising and passing without being compulsively driven by it. It could involve choosing to engage with sexual energy only in a context of love, respect, and shared spiritual intention, rather than casual encounters. It involves setting healthy boundaries, ensuring that the expression of this energy is life-affirming and contributes to mutual growth, as reflected in the Baha'i perspective on enriching relationships. Awareness is discipline's inseparable partner. It's the clear light of consciousness that illuminates our inner world, allowing us to see our desires, thoughts, and emotions as they are, without judgment or attachment. Through practices like mindfulness meditation, self-inquiry, and quiet reflection, we develop the capacity to observe desire arise, to feel its energy in the body, to notice the thoughts and stories that come with it, without immediately identifying with it or being swept away. This awareness creates a space between impulse and action. In that space lies our freedom, the freedom to choose our response, rather than being driven by unconscious reactions. With awareness, we can ask, where is this desire coming from? What is it truly seeking? Is fulfilling it, now in this way, helpful for my spiritual growth and the well-being of others? This isn't just intellectual analysis, but a deep, embodied listening to our inner wisdom. To understand the self, to observe the mind, to cultivate inner stillness. These are the very tools of awareness, essential for navigating the powerful currents of desire. Shaolin training, with its stress on precision, focus, and control, is a profound example of discipline that builds not just physical skill, but mental and spiritual strength. Such strength is vital when working consciously with the deep energies of our human nature. The journey of integrating desire and spirit isn't about reaching a state where desire no longer arises. For most, desire is a natural part of being human. It's about transforming our relationship to desire. Are we its slave, tossed about by its every whim? Or can we become its conscious steward, guiding its power with wisdom, compassion, and a clear sense of purpose? As yogic traditions teach, the goal is to master the energy, not necessarily to extinguish it, for in that mastery lies strength and a deeper capacity for joy and spiritual service. This disciplined awareness allows us to see the subtle difference between desire that pulls us towards fragmentation and desire that can be transformed into a longing for the divine, a passion for truth, a creative force for good. It's the difference between being consumed by the fire and learning to tend the sacred flame within. This path requires patience, perseverance, and deep honesty with oneself. It's not a quick fix, but a lifelong journey of learning and growing in wisdom. The energy of desire, when met with such conscious discipline and lit by clear awareness, stops being a stumbling block and can indeed become a stepping stone on the path to profound spiritual unfolding. This exploration is just a beginning, an invitation to look within. The relationship between your deepest passions and your spiritual path is personal, a sacred conversation. If these thoughts resonate, if they stir a desire for deeper understanding, continue to seek, to question, to explore the teachings that speak to your heart. Consider subscribing for further reflections on the path of inner growth and conscious living. The journey is vast, and every insight shared can light the way. The lingering thought. Call to inner inquiry. Well, we began with a question. Spiritual growth versus sexual desire. Does one destroy the other? Perhaps, as we've explored, this versus isn't a fixed law, but a perception, a limited understanding we can expand. Perhaps the conflict we feel isn't in the energies themselves, but in our fragmented approach to them. The path of spiritual growth is a journey towards wholeness, towards integrating all aspects of our being into the light of conscious awareness. To exclude or demonize a force as fundamental as sexual desire might be, to wage an unnecessary war against ourselves, a war that distracts from the deeper work of coming together. What if, instead of destruction, the call is for transformation? What if the challenge isn't to extinguish the fire of our passions, but to learn to tend it with such profound wisdom, such deep love, such unwavering awareness that its flames light our path rather than consume us? What if this very energy, often feared and misunderstood, holds a powerful key to unlocking deeper compassion, boundless creativity, and a vibrant embodied spirituality? This isn't a call for easy answers, nor for dismissing the profound discipline needed on any authentic spiritual path. It's an invitation to a more nuanced understanding, a more courageous embrace of our full humanity. It suggests that spiritual growth and deep desire aren't necessarily eternal enemies, but perhaps two powerful currents within the single, magnificent river of life. Their destructive potential comes from ignorance and lack of skill. Their constructive, transformative power is unlocked through wisdom, consciousness, and a heart open to all that is. Ancient sages and modern thinkers alike seem to point towards a similar truth. Integration is key. Whether called sublimation, transmutation, or sacred union, the underlying principle is the same. Energy follows attention and intention. When our deepest desires are met, not with condemnation, but with mindful awareness and a compassionate hope for growth, they can stop being distractions and instead become catalysts for a more profound awakening. The path is not to destroy the fire within, but to become a wise keeper of that flame, allowing its light to merge with the light of spirit, creating an illumination that is both deeply human and truly divine. Reflect on this. What if your deepest passions, when met with awareness, discipline, and a courageous heart, don't obstruct your spiritual journey, but are in fact an integral part of the sacred dance of your unfolding? What if the energy you seek to transcend is the very energy that, understood and integrated, can lift you to the heights you aspire to reach? The answer lies not in a universal rule, but within the quiet, honest sanctuary of your own inner knowing.